Secondly, it checks the overall health of your computer to see if, let's say, the Simon battery and other things are in place. Then once it goes through all and find out that everything is intact, then the host program loads the operating system onto your RAM. Then from your RAM, you can just, well, once you sign in as a user, then the operating system loads onto your screen. Then you can log in from there and do other stuff.
Well, that's a good try. Anyone can shed more light on what he said? Okay, no one. I'll just go through the process very quick again. So the process starts with power on. So you push on the power button, and when you push on the power button, the boot up process starts, and everything starts from the BIOS. So the BIOS is basic input output system, which is firmware that is been configured on your machine. So the BIOS is firmware, right? So that's where the boot up process starts. So the BIOS gets initiated and the BIOS starts the boot up process. So what does the BIOS do? The BIOS will locate and start the post process. And the post process is the basic, the post process is the power on self-test. And it's just a test that happens when the computer is booting up to check the overall health of the computer, to check and make sure everything is in place, to check and make sure everything is connected. If anything is missing, the power on self-test is going to detect it. If hard drive is missing, if the keyboard is missing, or any other part that is necessary for the computer to start is missing, the power on self-test is going to detect it. Once that test happens and it's a pass, then the boot up process is gonna move to the next level.
Yeah, just to add to what Mr. Gerard said, like it's also called a power self-check, not just a self-test, because self-check, because you got to check CD-ROM, USB, RAM, and our as he said, if you miss any of those, it won't boot up. Thank you.
Yeah, so when that test happens and your computer passes that test, the boot up process moves to the next phase. And there is something called the bootloader. And the bootloader is what will load the operating system into RAM. So your bootloader, every operating system has a bootloader. There is a bootloader for Windows, there is a bootloader for Linux, bootloader for Unix. So the bootloader is what actually loads the operating system. But before it loads the operating system, it has to locate the operating system because the operating system will be sitting somewhere on your hard drive, right? Because your hard drive is permanent storage. So the bootloader will locate the operating system, which will be sitting somewhere on your hard drive. It sits on a sector, on a particular sector of your hard drive, and it locates the operating system. When it locates the operating system, it feeds the operating system into RAM, or it loads it into RAM. Because if it is not loaded into RAM, there's no way the boot up process will continue. So you can have a question in an interview that the boot up process hangs after the power on self-test. How can you troubleshoot, or how can you tell what the problem is? And with the understanding of the boot up process, you should be able to say that RAM is needed for the operating system to be loaded. So once the bootloader locates the operating system, it needs to locate RAM and also load the operating system into RAM. If your RAM is too small, That's why RAM capacity also matters in the boot up process. If your RAM is too small, then it won't be able to support the OS, and the boot up process will fail. So you have to, enough RAM needs to be allocated for the OS to be loaded into RAM. And once the OS gets loaded into RAM, then the OS will now start up other programs. Because remember, the operating system is the main program that runs on the computer. Once the operating system gets loaded into RAM, it starts up every other program. It runs background scripts, it starts up processes, and every other process that will be running in the foreground and the background. Once all those processes starts running, before that is only when your desktop will finally be loaded into RAM. And once your desktop is loaded into RAM, then you will be able to log onto your system. That is just a summary of the entire boot up process. But if you want to go into the nitty-gritties of this process, I can explain from now to tomorrow. But these are the main points that you talk about when you're talking about the boot up process for Windows. And just to mention this, because it's important, when we start doing Linux on Saturday, the Linux boot up process is very, very, very important. If you don't understand the Linux boot up process, you can joke around with the Windows boot up process, it's fine. But Linux boot up process, if you cannot understand and explain that boot up process, then you're gonna have a hard time understanding Linux. And the Linux boot up process is lengthier than the Windows boot up process. And you have to know the various steps, but we'll go through that detailedly. And by the time we're done, I will expect all of you to be able to understand the process. And because your understanding of the boot up process will help you with troubleshooting Linux systems. Because sometimes you boot up your Linux machine, you should be able to know at what point can you interrupt the boot up process and go into single user mode or go into troubleshooting mode and troubleshoot your system. So the boot up process for Linux will be covered first week or second week, and it is very important. So I will emphasize, I want to start emphasizing now, because that is one of the most commonly asked questions during the Linux interview, to explain the Linux boot up process. And if you are not flowing, if you start explaining and breaking here and there, you're telling the interviewer that you're not a good Linux admin, or you're not a good Linux engineer. So that one you have to really spend time on and master every step of that boot up process. But it's kind of a little bit similar to the Windows boot up process, But that's, in a nutshell, that's the Windows boot up process.
Okay, so how often do you handle a boot up process in your working environment?
Well, the thing is, there are times when you have to reboot a personal computer or reboot a server. Or sometime you want to run a hardware diagnostic test on the machine.
Or even when you're doing when you're provisioning the machine, you have to go into the boot up process and change it, because the standard boot up process is for it to boot from the hard drive and then get to CD-ROM, then get to USB stick before then get to the operating system. But if you're doing a provisioning, you have to go in there and switch it to a USB if you're using a USB stick.
Exactly.
So you have to go switch up the boot process. If you don't switch it up, it's going to keep booting from the hard drive, no matter what you do.
Yeah. So for example, you have a server, you are provisioning a server, you are doing a bare metal install, and you have the operating system on a thumb drive, for example, and you've been tasked to go install it on a server, on a physical server, right? You go insert the USB thumb drive on the server, and you power on that server. Automatically, by default, the server will start the boot up process. By default, the server will look for the operating system on the hard drive of that server. But your understanding of the boot up process should make you understand exactly where to interrupt that boot up process and ask the computer to read your thumb drive and pull the operating system from there instead of looking at the hard drive of the computer. So for example, there are times when you press the power button, your machine is booting up, you interrupt the boot process by pressing either F10 or F12 or F2. That interrupts the boot up process right there. And it takes you into the BIOS of the machine. And from the BIOS, you can do a lot of things. You can make a lot of personal adjustments. You can make a lot of configurations while you go into the BIOS. You can also press F10, and interrupt that boot process and decide, okay, you want the system to read from that thumb drive instead of reading from your hard drive. You can do that. And when you do that, you press OK and you continue the boot process, and it's going to read the thumb drive and pull the operating system from there and boot up from the thumb drive. So those are scenarios that you could see the boot up process come into play. But in Linux, it happens a lot because there is something in Linux called single user mode, where you go in to troubleshoot the Linux system, and you'll be going into single user mode a lot, otherwise known as run level 1. You boot up, you interrupt the boot up process, you go into single user mode, and you start doing a whole lot of different kind of troubleshooting. Good question.
Okay, thank you.
Any other question from anyone else?
Yeah, Jared, you did mention that you were going to go over the homework with us.
Yes.
So I've been waiting. Okay.
I will use, so one thing I want to say before I start that, I'll use Bismarck's homework as an example. One thing that I keep emphasizing in class is that the purpose of this homework, guys, is for you to go and do extensive research and read on this material. So you have more meat on the bone that we're giving you, right? If I ask you what is DNS and you just give me one line, that doesn't help me, it doesn't help you. Because in an interview, if they ask you what is DNS and you say it is a protocol and it translates host name to IPs and IPs to host names, and then you sit quiet, do you think you've convinced that person to offer you that job with that type of answer? Certainly no. There is more to DNS than just converting host names to IPs and IPs to host names. So if somebody asks you a question, what is DNS? You should be able to talk more, to find, say DNS is a protocol, say what the protocol does, say what the DNS server does, talk about DNS records, things like that. There is more to this homework. So I've been saying this over and over because I look at most of the homework, people are giving me one line answers. And if you're giving me one line answers, it means you're just telling me that's all you know. Because if you know more, you should be able to give more. Because like I said, in an interview, one-liners are not going to give you the job. No way. You should be able to convince that interviewer that you know your stuff by giving more insight and adding more weight to every single question that is being asked of you. But before I go over the homework, I want to ask if everyone was able to. I know we're trying to do RDP on Saturday, and a lot of people did not succeed in doing that.
Sorry, I don't even know how to. Can you hear me?
Ola, are you the one with the S10?
Yes, I'm not home, so I'm connecting with my phone.
Okay.
I'm driving right now, so.
All right, no problem.
We're just making sure it's not a hack.
Exactly.
Too late.
Because
It's been hacked already. Yeah, I just wanted to ask if anybody actually tried the server thing. I did not have time to try any of it because they were closing the financials at my place, so I've been working long hours. But was anybody able to use 2016 to remote into their computer? We are Windows Server 2016.
Yeah, because I did say if you don't have a Windows 10 Pro machine, meaning you don't have RDP on your machine, it's still fine. Set up 2 servers, right? Set up Windows Server 2012, Windows Server 2016, or you set up 2 Windows Server 2016s, and you enable RDP on both servers. You open the firewall on both servers, and then use one server to remote to the other server. It's still gonna work. Did anyone try that? Guys, we need to be practicing. You cannot learn this thing and think and just go and keep, because it's not gonna help. We need to be doing the hands-on. So I will share my screen and just show you how that is done. And guys, make sure you guys do it at home. You need to practice these things, because like I said, at work, there will never be a day when you connect directly to the server. You will always do remote connections all the time. You will never do a direct login to the server as you log in and start your virtual machine in your virtual box. That will never happen. So let me go to my virtual box and.
Are we recording? Because I can't actually look at my screen, so I'll have to look at this recording later.
I think Kingsley is recording. Kingsley, are you recording?
Okay. Thank you.
Sir.
Okay, so I'll start. Yes, Bismarck.
There is an app that keeps coming up on the server whenever I try to load. I don't know. I've struggled to kill it, to stop the app from coming up.
If you don't tell me the name of the app, I'm never gonna know what app it is. Do you know the name?
Next question. I'll look. When I'll be turning on the server, the next I'll copy the name and keep.
Okay.
Second one. How do I check errors in an application? Like my Active Directory has errors, or my container. I'm trying with my own. I've not seen the procedure they give me. I follow it. I'm not getting.
What errors are you talking about?
Like I configure DNS server wrongly.
If you configure DNS wrongly, then it's not going to work. Then you just need to reconfigure it, right? Because if you configure it the wrong way, it's not going to work. And if it doesn't work, then that should tell you that you misconfigured. And what you need to do is to go reconfigure so that it works. Otherwise, go check your logs. I told you
Yes, sir. That's where there's big problem, seriously, because I have the 2 servers because I have the version of Windows that I have is the home edition and not the 10 Pro. For that reason, I tried to download 2 Windows servers 2012 and configure them so that I could use one server to remote into the other server. Unfortunately for me, configuring the second server and allowing and installing DNS to it, I was not like manipulating with the DNS, the preferred the preferred DNS and all those other 2 parameters. Was not very clear to how to do it.
Okay, Bismarck, first things first, you don't need to configure DNS before you can remote from one server to another. As long as the 2 servers are connected to the network, whether you've installed Active Directory or not, whether you've installed DHCP or not, whether you've configured DNS or not, you should still be able to remote from one system to another. So right now, I've started 2 servers, right? This is one server here, 2016, and this is one server here, 2012. So here is a procedure. I want to do a remote connection from server A, which is this one, to server B, which is this one that says 2016. All of them are 2012, even though I named one 2016, right? What do I need to do first? So you want to make sure your server has an IP address. First things first, they have an IP, they are connected to the network. So if I click on local servers right here, and the first thing you want to do, check your NIC. This is my NIC, Ethernet. You see, it tells me IPv4 address assigned by DHCP, enabled. So that already tells me my server has an IP address, right? That tells me my server has an IP address because it says Ethernet, IPv4 address assigned by DHCP. So if you click on the NIC right here, it's gonna show you your NIC. This is my NIC right here. If I double click on the NIC again, it's gonna open this. And if I click on properties, I can go in here. You know how we configure static IPs. I can go in here and I do and I set my IP address to be static if I want. You know, we know the procedure, but I don't want to do that right now. I just want to make sure my NIC is enabled. And how do I know my NIC is enabled? It's moving traffic. If you can see here, there is activity going on. Sent, received. You see these numbers will keep changing. It tells me that traffic is going in and out of my NIC right now. My NIC is active, right? And it shows me right here, enabled. Look at the duration of data transfer. You see it keeps changing. So that tells you that the NIC is up and active. So you want to make sure of that, right? So the NIC is active. So if this NIC wasn't enabled, you can right click on this NIC and when you right click on it, you're gonna see enable right here. Mine says disable right now because it's already enabled. I can disable it and re-enable it again. But if your NIC is not enabled, that's where you come enable your NIC to get an IP address. You right click on it and you can actually enable it. If your NIC was not breached, you can also breach it from here. Okay, so that is it. My NIC is enabled. Now, next thing you want to look at is remote desktop. Mine says enable because I enabled it yesterday. Yours will probably say disable. You have to click on it. If it's disabled, you click on disable and enable it. Remote management, same. Enable it. And when you do this 3, you're done with this server. And when you're done with this server, there's one more thing you need to do. So you've enabled remote management, you've enabled remote desktop, and you've made sure your NIC is enabled. What next do you need to do? You want to make sure RDP is allowed through the firewall, because if it's not allowed through the firewall will block the RDP connection. So if you click down here on the start button, navigate to control panel, it's going to bring you here. Go to network and security, and it's going to bring you to the Windows firewall. What do you want to do? You click on allow an app through the firewall because you want to allow RDP through the firewall. So you click there. And these are the different applications that you can allow through the firewall, applications and protocols. So you just need to scroll all the way down until you find remote desktop. You see remote desktop is checked. You make sure private and public are both checked. You see private, public are checked. When you do that, you're gonna click on OK. And you're done with server A. You go over to the next server and you do the same thing. Click on local server. You see, make sure your NIC is enabled. Make sure remote desktop is enabled. Make sure remote management is enabled. Come here, control panel, system and security, allow an app through the firewall. You find remote desktop, same, and you add it through the firewall. That is that. So when you do that on both systems, then you are ready to do that remote connection. And for you to be able to do that remote connection, say I want to connect from here, server Windows Server 2012. I want to connect to Windows Server 2016. I need the IP address of Windows Server 2016. How do I get the IP address of this server? Who can tell me?
You go into the command prompt and you do IP config.
That is correct. That is correct. So
please, how do I enter the command prompt of the remote machine?
you need to go to PowerShell. You need to go to PowerShell. So you click here and you come to the search button here and you can type PowerShell here or so see Windows PowerShell. Yep, so that is it. So you use PowerShell and you type ipconfig. And what is my IP address?
One
172.16.21.41. Okay, so I know my IP, so I can close that.
And another way that you can find it also is usually on the where it says internet. You can just click on that internet right there. On your...
Yeah, you can go. I already told them that you can go directly to the NIC and get it.
Yeah.
So you go over to the machine you want to connect from, right? You click here, you go to the start button, and you type remote desktop. So you open the remote desktop application, and this is the IP because I already connected yesterday to that machine. So this, you put in the IP of the remote system, and you click connect. The username of that machine is administrator because you have to always connect as the admin. If you want to connect as a user, then the admin must have added you on Active Directory as a user to do that remote connection. But you will be connecting as administrator, and you put in your administrator password that you configured when you were setting up your machine. And
Sir, come again, please.
You want me to rewind? Bismarck.
Yes, sir.
Where do you want me to start from? I said you go over to control panel. This is a machine you want to connect from. Go to control panel. Do the same thing as if you're trying to find your PowerShell or something. You type remote desktop in there. And you open the remote desktop connection. When it opens up, you put in the IP of the remote machine you want to connect to. And then you click connect. it's going to open up these two boxes. That's the username right there, administrator. Because on the remote machine, there's only one account that you created, the administrative account. You always want to log in as the administrator. So you put in the password of that administrator account. And it's going to throw this warning. You want to take yes. And that is it. It connects me to that machine. So this is my remote machine. And you know it's your remote machine because you will see the IP right on the top, right here. This blue bar up here, that is the IP of that machine. That is what tells you you are on a remote connection. So that's how you do remote connection. So if I want to end the connection, I just need to click close from there. It asks me your remote session will be disconnected. If I say okay, it ends the connection. That is it. Straightforward. Any question about that? Any question on that? Okay, no question. So I also want to show you, how to check your logs. In the last class, we talked about log files and how to check logs, right? And who can tell us what logs are?
Logs keep records of the activities that is happening on your computer or server.
Excellent. So why are log files important?
I mean, it's important because you're able to know exactly what is going on, like on the machine, like who signed into your machine. If, let's say, a hacker is able to get into your machine, it will be captured by the log files.
Exactly. It's not just that, also for troubleshooting. If an application fails, if you're facing some connection issues, if a database crashes, a lot of things. If a backup fails, a script that's supposed to run doesn't run, all those things will be, there will be events that will be generated. There'll be log files that will be captured for those things. And you always want to go and check your log files while you're doing investigations and while you're troubleshooting. So if you come right here on tools, so you click on local server, you come on tools, and you come down here to event viewer. The name says it itself, you know, event viewer. It means you want to view all events that have been happening on your server, right? And if you look right here, you're going to see custom views, Windows logs, application and service logs. You know, so depending on the log file that you're looking for, this is where you come. If you click on one of these drop downs here, it's going to open several drop downs. You see application log, security log, setup, system, forwarded events, all of that. So if, for example, let's say we want to look at application logs. So let's click on application. You see, these are all the log files. It gives you information on every application that is running on your system. See, so if there is an error, it will show you somewhere that there is an error. So these are all logs. There's a lot of them because it happens like every 5 minutes or every minute. Like look at the time differences here. 2:45:07, 2:45:07. Like every 1 minute, log files are being generated. You know, so these are logs for application logs. So you want like security logs. There's a breach. This is where you come look at security logs. So you'll be going through these log files, who logged on. So every single login, you will see it. It will be captured on one of these log files. You know, anything that got to do with security will be in here among these log files somewhere. You know, system logs, you click here, it will give you all the system logs.
Excuse me, Gerard, do you have to clean up your log file at some point to increase performance?
No, you don't want to delete your log files. You can copy them and keep them somewhere because your log files are very, very important. Your log files are the most important asset that you have, because if you clean up your log file and then some activity happened and you have to investigate and there are no log files, where are you going to start? There are no traces. Someone is going to get fired.
What about a trace file? Can you clean up your trace file?
Yes, you can, but always do a backup. Anything you want to clean up, do a backup. At work these days, storage is not a problem. There is enough storage, you know. So these are servers we're talking about. Servers have abundance of storage. So you wouldn't really be worried about, you know, storage space. But there is something called log rotate. We'll talk about log rotate a lot when we start doing Linux. It's like rotating your logs. You say after every 4 months, delete the logs that we captured during our first month. You know, we can set it like that to keep on rotating our logs so our logs files don't become too cumbersome. So log rotate is very, very common in a Linux environment. Or you can say every 1 month locate rotate logs. Say if we're in March, rotate the January logs. If we're in April, rotate the February logs, just like that. You know, so the log files don't grow exponentially. So yeah, these are your log files, you know, application and service logs. If you click here, you know, hardware events, you want to see if you are having a hardware failure, your server is throwing errors, you want to come to hardware events, you know, and check the logs, you know. So I don't have any logs for that right now. So it means my underlying hardware is good. If my CPU was failing or my RAM was failing or something, there'll be some data in here for the logs, you know. So that is how you get to your log file. Very, very important. So take note of this.
So as an admin, will I give permission to any user to be able to access these files?
You are the admin. A normal user can never go near the log files. Never, ever. And this, we're talking about logs on a server. If you go on your machine, Bismarck, you can check the log files on your machine. That's fine. But there is no way a normal user will be accessing log files on the server at work. For what reason? First of all, it will not be possible because of group policy. Secondly, they won't have the permission to do that because they'll have just normal user permission. And you cannot just wake up from sleep one day and say you want to grant a normal user permission to go and check logs.
So I wish that you hold all factors constant and give us like 100 or 200 group policies to use to administer on a server, just to see how we can become accustomed with the group policies generally.
So Bismarck, group policies are determined by your working environment. So I cannot tell you that this group policy will be used at work. This will not be used. I can only show you how to set up group policies, which I think Kingsley did a great job with that in the last class. So you know what group policies are. He showed you an example of how group policies are used. So that's what you need to do. Practice on setting and creating more group policies, because you don't know what group policies will be used in what environment. But the important thing for you is to understand group policies, how they are set up, and not me giving you 100 group policies to go and set up. No.
In the last class, Kingsley said we should enable firewall. But when I enable firewall, I discovered that firewall was clashing. When I put firewall on, it was clashing with with a certain port that was open in another web server. So I had to come and close it. I don't know why firewall will clash it.
Well, I don't know the configuration that you have.
No, I did not say for it to open firewall anywhere at any point. So open firewall to do what with firewall? I talked about group policy and access directory, but I didn't mention to open firewall. I don't know why you are opening firewall.
It can happen if you're doing other configurations and other okay. If you're doing other projects at home, Bismarck, that you're using your machine a lot and setting up different policies and configuring your firewall, at some point there's going to be a clash, but you should be smart enough to figure it out to know that, okay, if this happened while I did this, maybe it's because I made some configuration that is stopping this from happening. So that's why you should have multiple servers, and each time something fails, go check your firewall first. Is that service allowed through the firewall? If the firewall is a problem, disable the firewall for a while and see if it works. Because you are admin right now, you need to be trying things. That's how you learn. So I appreciate the fact that you're doing that. It's a good way for you to actually enhance your skills and learn better. Sometimes
Thank you, sir.
Things will not work because I did it in class and it worked in class. You followed the exact thing I did in class and it did not work for you. You need to try to troubleshoot. I said, but why is this not working for me? Prof did it this way and it worked for him. Why is it that mine is not working? And you start using your brain. You start doing research. That's how you get better. Because if you just want to go step by step on everything I do, and it just works the way it's supposed to work, and you don't face any glitch, you feel like this thing is easy. It is easy. I'm not trying to scare anyone, but when you come across any problem, give it your best shot. Give it your best shot. And if it doesn't work, then bring it to me, and I'm gonna help you. So Bismarck, keep on with what you're doing. And Bismarck, I will really appreciate you asked a lot of good questions, but
that you are giving. But the problem is that when I tried as being an admin, when I try to connect, when I try to, like, let me quote one example where I faced a serious problem with the putty that you asked us to download. As I was trying to do an SSH connection, I realized that it wasn't going, even though I used the concept of enabling firewalls that you had with that Kingsley and the instructor Charles on the network had taught, but I got stuck. So I wanted that in another private session, maybe someone of you should put me through with firewall, please.
First things first, Bismarck, you cannot use PORI and connect to a Windows computer, to a Windows server. Are you aware of that? So if you were trying to connect to a Windows server, it will never work. Never, ever. So were you connecting to a Windows server? Because you're talking about Kingsley and Charles. And I'll assume, as far as both of them are concerned, we are talking about Windows and networking.
No, I use the putty to connect to Windows.
That's what I'm saying. That is never going to work.
Yeah, you cannot use putty to connect to a Windows server. It's not going to work. Bismarck.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
So Bismarck, if you want to use any application to connect to your Windows server, it has to be RDP, which I just demonstrated to you today. Don't use PORI. PORI is only for you can use PORI to do arrow logging connections. You can use it to do telnet connections, and you can use it to do SSH connections. But you cannot use it to do any RDP connection to a Windows server. It's never going to work. Okay. So let's move on. So,
Senator Gerard, one quick question.
Yes.
Yeah, so when we had those two servers and we were doing RDP from one to another, were we supposed to have configured the IP address to static in order to do RDP?
I didn't configure a static IP, but I was just showing you how to do an RDP connection. right?
Okay,
But
okay,
always
all
make
right.
sure, because since we are dealing with servers, you want to make sure your IP is static, right?
Okay, all right, thank you.
Yeah. So let me see one thing I have to show you here. Okay, task scheduler. So if you click on tools and you navigate all the way down to task scheduler, who can tell me what task scheduler is? Who can try? Cesar.
I'll
Cesar,
take
are
a
you
pass.
there?
I'll pass.
What about Mr. Jude?
I think a task scheduler is used to assign specific tasks on a computer.
To assign a specific task? What do you mean by assign a specific task?
It's like to create or to direct. That's just my general overview of it. I don't know.
Okay.
I haven't
All
done
right.
it.
So task schedulers are used to schedule tasks. Like the word says, task scheduler. That's what it does. It schedules tasks. So for example, you have a script, you want that script to run tonight at 11 p.m., right? And that script is supposed to do some kind of backup. Maybe it's a PowerShell script, maybe it's a JavaScript, who knows? The script has already been written and given to you. You want the script to run at 11 p.m. tonight. You can schedule the script, you can bring the script and you put in task scheduler and you schedule it such that at 11 p.m. tonight, that script is going to run. If you want that script to run 11 p.m. every single night, the place to do it is task scheduler. Every day at 11 p.m. You want that script to run without you touching it, without you coming to say script run, without you coming to click on anything. You bring the script and you put in task scheduler, that is it. That script is going to run for you. So that is the use of task scheduler. When we start Linux, the brother to task scheduler is something called cron. In Linux, you hear about cron jobs a lot, right? You want your job to run. You want your cron job to run. It's the same thing. So you can come here. Let's say you already have the script. You create a basic task, right? You give the name of the task. You say backup script, for example, right? If you want to add a description in there, you can add a description. You click next. And this is where you set up the triggers. Do you want the script to run daily? Do you want it to run weekly? Do you want it to run monthly? Do you want it to run just one time? Do you want the script to run only when you log into the machine? You select the task from here. That is known as the trigger. Let's say you want it to run daily. You select daily and you click on next. And now you put a date, right? You want it to run from, today is the 7th. If you want it to run for 1 week, you can say from the 7th to whatever. You put the time. We're talking about 11 p.m. tonight, right? You put in 11 p.m. tonight here. And then you want it to reoccur after it runs, or you want it to run just 1 day. How many days do you want? 1 day, 5 days, 10 days? You put any amount of days you want. You put in the time, you put in the date, next, Now, what actions you want to perform? We're talking about a script, right? So our script is to do some backups. That's the example I used. But So you can select any of this, start a program. So the script, when it starts running, is actually a program starting. So this is what you want to select, start a program. Otherwise, you can also be setting a task to send some type of email to somebody or something. But who you want to start a program, that's the example we are going with. Click next, and this is where the script is going to be. So let's say the script has already been written, it's saved somewhere on your machine. So you click browse and you go to the location where the script is and you upload the script right here. So you click browse, go to the location where the script is, and you import the script and you put it in here. And when you're done, you just click finish. That is it. You've set that task. So at work, they can give you a backup script, right, to set on your server. That's going to be doing backups, say every day, every night, every 2 days, every week. On a Windows computer, this is not going to work for Linux. We are dealing with Windows right now on a Windows server. This is where you come set up that script. And when you're done, finish. That is it. You've created your task. Is that clear, guys?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Let's go back to tools. If there's anything else for me to show you here. Okay, I wanted to show you, okay. For those of you who spent some extra time after we left last Sunday, I talked about patching. I think Bismarck, you were around. Roland, you were around. What can you remember about patching? What did I say about patching?
Patching is just like, let me say, cloning. Cloning, like for example, a database.
Okay. Bismarck, what do you think?
Can patching be to update database?
Do an update of a file. I mean, of a server is one aspect of patching.
Okay.
Updates for Windows, or we could also use some tools that you gave to do the patching.
Okay.
Like
Nice.
WSource is a tool that can be used to do patching,
Okay.
and depending on the kind of patching.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, how frequently do you patch a Windows server?
Okay, good question. I'm going to come to that. So one of the things that you're going to be doing at work is patching. Patching is very, very important. And the whole concept of patching is doing an upgrade on your system, downloading the latest software on your system, bringing your system up to date. Your system cannot have backdated applications. Your system cannot have security bugs because it's not been updated. Your system always needs to be updated. And that is what patching is all about. So patching will go out there and grab the most latest packages and install on your machine. If there are any vulnerabilities, there are any bugs, there are any outdated software, any outdated applications, it's gonna update them and bring your machine up to date. Your systems should always be patched. It doesn't matter if it's a Windows system, it doesn't matter if it's a Linux system, it gotta be patched all the time. But patching is not done randomly, and patching is not done by one person. Patching is done by a team. So when you are tasked to do patching, just a minute, guys. Are you freaking kidding me? So when you are tasked to do patching, you will be doing patching with a team. Say you have a team of 3 or 4 people that are responsible for doing patching in that environment. right? And you can be in an environment where you have 1,000 servers. How do you patch 1,000 servers? You have to sit down and be strategic about it. And maybe you guys want to say you start by patching first 300 for the first day. Second day, you patch the next 300. That makes it 600. And then you patch the next 300, and then you patch the remaining 100 servers. You know, so how is the patching done? This is very important to understand how patching is done in an environment, because that's one of the things I do. First things first, patching, every work environment will have a patching policy. So I hope you guys are taking notes. You guys are jotting these things down, or you guys will come and watch this video. Because when they bombard you with questions during interviews, these are the answers that you're supposed to be given. So I hope you guys are taking down some notes, or you have time to watch this video, because I'll not repeat this again. So every environment should have a patching policy. So you don't just patch servers randomly. So if you ask how is patching done in your environment, your answer should be patching is done according to our patching policy. And this is our patching policy. We patch our servers monthly, or we patch quarterly, or we patch weekly. So it depends on how the policy in that environment is being set.
Prof, before
right?
you go,
So,
can I ask you something?
yeah, ask your question.
Can patching be scheduled?
Schedule?
Yeah.
Yes. It can also be scheduled. I'll come to that.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. So every environment, like I said, should have a patching policy. And some servers should be patched once a week. Some servers should be patched every 2 weeks. There are some servers that should be patched like once a month. For example, you don't expect a backup server, a server that all the server does is to take backups and keep. You don't expect to be patching that server every week. It's not necessary, right? But for a server that is, let's say you're working for a bank and transactions are happening on that server every day. Such a server needs to be updated maybe every week, because you don't want any vulnerability on that server. So that is just an example. But ideally, the environment should have a patching policy for different servers, because you have different servers that are doing different things. And all those servers won't be patched at the same time, or all those servers won't have the same patching schedule. Some servers will be patched weekly. Some servers will be patched at the end of the month. You know, so let's say we're patching at the end of the month, right? And we have like 1,000 servers to patch. You sit down with your patching team and you spread it out. We say today we're gonna patch 300 servers first, and then tomorrow we patch 300 servers. Wednesday we patch 300 servers, and until we're done. Okay, how is the patching done? How is it structured? The architecture of the patching environment. You don't just go and you just start patching servers randomly. You always start patching from the test environment. And the reason you patch the test environment first is because if anything breaks, it is the test environment that is breaking. Work still goes on without any problem. So most companies will have test 1, test 2, QA, production 1, and production 2. That is the structure. So test 1 is the first test environment. Yes. Test 2 is the second test environment. QA is quality assurance. So you patch test 1, everything goes well. Patch test 2, everything goes well. You go patch QA, quality assurance environment, everything goes well. Then you go patch production 1. Your production environment is where everything is happening. That is the backbone of that environment. That's where the main servers are. You don't joke with production. Production goes down, the entire company goes down. So that's why you don't have to joke with production. You go and start with your test environment. So if there is any problem that needs to occur, by patching test 1, test 2, and QA, you should have already detected the problem and fixed before the problem is happening in production. So by the time you patch in production, you already have a solution to that problem. So which in effect means that test 1, test 2, QA, production 1, and production 2 are similar servers. They're all the same. They are like clones.
Okay, it's a replica server?
Yes. Because they need to be the same. Because if there is a problem on test 1, then you know that problem 2 will be faced in production. So you want to fix it first. You want to solve that problem before you get to production. So that's why it is structured like that. You patch test 1, patch test 2, you patch QA, and then you patch production 1. While production 1 is being patched, production 2 is the standby. It's the standby. It's live and it's working. While production 1 is down, production 2 is up. When you finish patching production 1, production 1 goes up, production 2 goes down, and you start patching production 2. That is a patching mechanism in every environment. Ask your question, please.
And the reason why you're going through all this process by patching 1, patching 2, and that, because why? You might patch a test server 1, and then you realize that it's not compatible with the new patch that you installed. It's not compatible with
exactly. Because
so you have to
you're trying to do a patch, you're trying to fix, but patching can also cause you a lot of problems. Sometimes patching is usually called break and fix. You're doing patching to fix something. It comes, the new patches comes and it breaks that environment. Even though the whole idea of patching is to benefit the environment, but there are patches that will come and mess up the setup of that environment. There are patches that will come and mess up the configuration. There are patches that will come displace applications around, you know. So those things happen during patching. There are sometimes you finish patching, the server goes offline. You don't know why. You start troubleshooting. The patch has caused a problem on that system. You need to start troubleshooting. You troubleshoot and fix, and then you know, okay, this happened because of this. So by the time you get to production, you've already taken care of that problem because you had already seen the problem when you patch the test environment. So that is the whole concept of patching. Now, let's talk about patch. What tools do you use to patch a Windows environment? Okay. In Active Directory, there is WSUS, which I spoke about last weekend. So if you go to local server, you click on manage, you click on add roles and features. I haven't set up WSUS. If I already set up WSUS, you just click on tools and it will show up among one of these tools here and you use it to patch. But I haven't set it up yet on my server, but I just want to tell you about it. If you want to set it up, you click on manage, add roles and features, right? You click on next here, and this is where you'll find it. So scroll all the way down. Windows Server Update Services. It is abbreviated WSUS, WSUS. This is the full meaning, Windows Server Update Services. But in an interview, you don't want to say Windows Server Update Services. You want to abbreviate it because it's always abbreviated. WSUS, WSUS. So if I select this service and I click on add features and I go next, it's going to install it on this machine. I don't want to install it, but if you want to go install it at home, fine, and use it to try to patch your system, that is fine. But I just wanted to show you that in most environments, WSUS will already be set up. You just go to tools and it's going to be there. But because I haven't set it up in my environment, on my machine. That's why I'm showing you how to set it up. But this is the tool that is used to patch Windows servers. It is part of Active Directory. It comes with Active Directory. It's very important. You can read about it here. Windows Server Update Service allows network administrators to specify Microsoft updates that should be installed, create separate groups of computers for different sets of updates, get reports on compliance levels of the computers and updates that must be installed. So just install updates on your system, which otherwise is known as patching.
Oh,
Yes,
so,
any question?
yes, is it going to be like a GUI without even downloading the patches from the internet? It's just going to.
In most environments, the patches would already be downloaded, right?
Okay.
So WSource will just pull the patches from the server where you guys have the patches on, and just use to patch the servers, because you don't want all the patches, because like I said, there are patches that will come and break servers instead of upgrading them, right? So look at what this note says. It says that Windows Server Update Service allows network administrators to specify Microsoft updates. So you can go into the updates and actually specify. So when you tell WSource patch, it's going to pick just the patches that you've specified and use them to patch those servers. So there is a patching server at work that has the latest packages on that server, that you just grab it from there and use to patch the servers. So that is it with WSUS. So that is it with patching. Patching is very important.
Okay, so when we want to do backup, are we going to use WSource?
Bismarck, WSource is for patching, not for backups. On Saturday, I told you a tool that you can use to do backups. What tool did I tell you to use for backups?
Is it like Vim?
Exactly. So Bismarck, don't mix concepts here. You have to be very careful with the way the concepts are. Don't mix them. You're gonna get confused. So this is what you used to do. Use for patching. If you want to use backup tools, you can use Vim. Vim is very popular. I think it's spelled like this here, Vim. You see, backup and recovery, Vim backup and replication. And it says if you can try it out for 30 days before they can ask you to buy the license. You see, you can use it for 30 days and see how it works. But Vim is heavily used in most environments. So on your resume, if you are talking about backups, you want to talk about Vim. So
So
let me go to Notepad.
The Vim is a storage?
Say that again.
Is a Vim a storage?
Is it what?
Storage.
No. It is used for backups.
Okay.
It's a tool. It's a tool. It's not a storage. Just a tool.
Okay, just a tool. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, it's a backup tool.
Okay.
Yeah, so it goes if you want to use it to back up something that you have in storage. Yes, you can use it. You go to your storage server and you gather whatever you want to back up, and you use Vim to back up that storage server to another location or to another server somewhere. So,
excuse me, do you program doing a practical exercise with Vim one day?
say that again.
Can you program a subsequent practical exercise with Vim?
I don't have Vim. This is an enterprise tool. It costs like thousands and thousands of dollars. I cannot afford it.
Yeah, because I just hear you talked about the trial version 20 days. So maybe one of us can.
Yeah. So if whenever you have time, download it, watch a YouTube video on how to use it. You know.
Oh, okay, that's right.
Yeah. if you watch a YouTube video, you're gonna learn a lot about Vim. So I just want you to know about it and put it on your resume and talk about it during an interview. So patching. You can use WSUS. You can also use scripts. You can also write scripts. PowerShell scripts. There are scripts that you can also run that is going to patch your environment. Okay. Any question at this point? Okay. The last thing I want to talk to you about is storage. And on this, I want to talk about NAS, which stands for Network Attached Storage. I mean, none of these things are new. It's not like I'm teaching anything new here. You guys know all of these things. If you have been doing your homework and you've been covering your homework, then none of these concepts will be new to you. And there is also SAN. Jonathan, what is SAN? What's the full meaning?
Storage area network.
Okay, yes. So I want you guys to take some time. I already put it in your homework like 3 weeks ago to learn about NAS and to learn about SAN. So SAN is storage area network. NAS is network attached storage. At work, depending on the environment, if they are not using cloud storage, they'll probably be using a SAN or a NAS. A NAS is a smaller version of a SAN. SAN is a bigger version of a SAN, of a NAS. So this is basically what do these storage devices do? They are storage that you get over a network. So you have a storage device sitting somewhere that you can provision that storage over the network, and then let's say a device needs extra storage, its server needs storage. You go provision the storage from a SAN. Carve out that storage and allocate to that device over a network. It happens over a network. It doesn't happen physically. So you have the physical SAN device sitting somewhere in a data center or in a server room, and you remote into that SAN device, and you say you configure like 500 gigabytes of storage, and you point that storage towards a server to increase storage capacity of that server. So these two concepts are very, very important, NAS and SAN. And I will show you a free class, which is just like 3 or 5 hours that I want you guys to, I'll show you today before we log out. It's on Udemy and it's free. Udemy free class.
I never knew that there was something free on Udemy.
Yes, let's go to Udemy right now and I'll show you so I don't forget. So if you go to, let me go to my Udemy. Guys, don't take this thing for granted. It will help you, please. So I think I'm already logged in, maybe. Yeah. So let's just type SAN. And this is the course right here. You don't need to know too much about NAS and SAN, but you should be able to understand certain things about them that you are able to talk about in an interview. You see, the course is free, Introduction to SAN and NAS Storage. So that is the course right there. See, that is it. Free for you guys, free knowledge to learn and go and make money. And guys, it's only 3.5 hours. That is it. Which means you can take 1 day and you learn about SAN and NAS and be able to put it on your resume and say, yes, I'm a SAN and NAS expert. See, just 3.5 hours. So I'm begging you guys, please go register your Udemy account, look for this class. This is going to be your homework. I know I already put in your homework, but I looked at the answers, the type of answers that I saw. It told me that guys haven't really done extensive research on NAS and SAN. That's why I was able to find this course. And luckily, I found a free one for you. It's just 3.5 hours. It will help you so much and you gain so much knowledge. And if you go to an interview, they ask you about SAN or NAS, you'll be able to ace it because you learn all of these things here, all of these things. So guys, please register, sign up for this course. I know it's a lot. You guys already have a lot on your plate, but just put this as an appetizer somewhere, right? It's gonna help you. Okay. Let's go back to.
I'm sorry, Gerard, what course is that? I missed it.
This is the course right here. It's free. Did you do this homework on SAN and NAS?
I have not. I'll do it
Okay.
before this weekend.
So the SAN and NAS is a course on its own.
Storage. There are people at work that are specialists in storage. That's all they do. They handle storage at work. SAN, NAS, iSCSI, NetApp, a whole lot of storage devices at work. They are storage specialists at work. That the only thing they do is storage. But nowadays, with the way IT companies are operating right now, before they call you a systems engineer, they want you to be able to know some networking. That's why we're doing all these things. Some networking, some Windows, know some storage, know some AWS, know some Linux. That's why you command big money at the end of the day. You go and say, I want $80 an hour or $90 an hour because I know all these things. And they pay you if you demonstrate that you know. That's why we're doing these things. And you might find yourself in an environment where there is no storage admin. And you are hired as a systems admin and you're going to be handling storage in that environment. That's why you need to know this. So Ola is just 3.5 hours and it is free. You're not paying a thing. I did some extensive research to find this for you. So put it on your plate as an appetizer, 3.5 hours, you can ace through this, without anything. And it needs to come on your resume. I want to see it on your resume. It needs to be there. Nice. Any other question on NAS and SAN? So that is storage. And the last thing I want to put here is firewall. We all know what a firewall is. Is there anyone who doesn't know what a firewall is? Okay, we all know what a firewall is. So one thing I did emphasize on is when you're talking about firewalls, they might ask you if you worked with any type of firewall. So these are the ones that I want you to talk about. You want to talk about Sonic Wall, because I'll ask you the specific firewall you've worked with. Sonic Wall firewall, that is one. There is also Untangle. And there is Fortinet. Okay. So these are the 3 firewalls you want to talk about. If they ask you about a firewall during an interview, right? So in your environment, you have a Sonic Wall firewall. And don't to confuse you, Bismarck, pay attention because you might get confused here. These are not operating system firewalls. These are network firewalls that sit at the edge of your network. So these are the firewalls that control traffic that comes into your network. So they sit at the edge of your network. They are different from operating system firewalls. Operating system firewalls. So the operating system firewall you have on your Windows system, what's the name of that firewall? Who can tell me? The firewall you have on your Windows system.
Windows firewall.
Windows Defender. Please don't say Windows firewall.
Okay.
Windows Defender. Bismarck, what is the name of the firewall on Linux? Stop scratching your head, my friend. You know the answer. Okay. IP tables. And there is also firewall D. Okay. So like I said, these are operating system firewalls. They are different from network firewalls. These ones are physical devices. These ones, the physical firewall device. Let me show you what a Sonic wall looks like. Okay, these are Sonic walls. See? So if you want to be more specific, you can say a Sonic wall. They can ask you the model of the Sonic wall. You can say TZ300, for example. You know, there are different models. You know, so these are all Sonic wall firewalls. These things are expensive. You know, so these are Sonic wall firewalls. The physical devices, the network firewalls. Like I said, they are different from the operating system firewalls that are part of your operating system. So don't confuse the two. So if they ask you in an interview about a firewall, what firewall have you worked with? No, they are talking about these ones. But if they get specific to talk about your operating system firewall, then you'll be talking about these ones. You know, so any question, guys? So we've spoken about backups, spoken about patching, storage, firewalls, spoken about scheduling tasks, and so much more. I think this was a good session. And
please, Gerald, come back to
show
the
you.
previous screen where you have the summary note. I wanted to take a snapshot on you. Okay. Thank you.
Okay. So, okay, so if you want to apply for a Windows, like for example, this is typically I don't apply for Windows admin roles, but I do get emails every day. Every day I get emails for Windows jobs, Linux jobs, AWS jobs. So this one was sent to me yesterday.
Forward it to me.
Right?
You can receive.
So I just want to show you the technical skills that they were asking. Right? Look. And this is how I want you to structure your resume, line by line. It should be like this. If you are building your resume, this is what you would say in your resume. Manage multiple Windows servers, 2016, 2012, domains, /forest. These are all things that we've covered. Manage and maintain group policy objects and OU structure. OU is organizational unit, which is part of Active Directory. Maintain the health of Active Directory sites and services by following network topology closely. Manage Active Directory integrated DNS. Implement and support Office 365, cloud, email, Teams, Active Directory Connect, AD Connect, multi-factor authentication. We know what MFA is, multi-factor authentication. We all do MFAs when we log in to our phone, to our bank account and all that. Support email retention policies, tax email address policies, blah, blah, blah. Administer Cisco ION compliances to minimize spam. So this should tell you that Cisco ION port compliances is a firewall. This right there already tells me it's a firewall because it says what? To minimize spam and secure email infrastructure for malware and phishing. So that tells you it's a firewall. Planning and testing ZR/BCR procedures, whatever that is. Support net IQ directory administrator. So every environment will have their own applications that they use in that environment, which is unique. So when you see things like this, you know, it tells us that that is just an application that that environment uses, which is unique to them. You know, write PowerShell scripts and for batch jobs. So I showed you guys how to schedule a task today, right? And task, in other words, are known as batch jobs. So when you see they talk about batch jobs, no, they are talking about task scheduler. So I showed you how to schedule the task and then where to go and input the script into the task, right? It's the same thing, right? PowerShell or VB scripts for batch jobs. So in most environments, they already have the script for you. You just go and take the script and put it into task scheduler and schedule it to run. And we all know how to do that. You know, user migration experience from forest to domain and all that. This is something that you can learn on your own, or it can teach you at work. Splunk. Splunk is a tool that is used for logs. It's like a log management tool, Splunk. So you can, most environments where they use Splunk, they push all their logs. So I remember Roland did ask today about deleting logs, right? So instead of deleting those logs, they'll push the logs into Splunk. And then Splunk will be the main application that is managing logs in that environment. So take note of Splunk. You know, that's something you also want to throw on your resume. You know, and the rest, they are just asking for communication skills, being verbal, positive-minded, blah, 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 blah. So this is what we want to do. So you go to Google and you type Windows Server admin sample resume. You know, and you look at the sample resumes and you start extracting the things that you see there that you've done in class. You know, so you see a lot of sample resumes here, and you take one of them and use to build yours. Please don't go and plagiarize. Don't go copy word for word. Be very strategic. You know, Look at this one. They're already talking about, I already see SAN here. SAN and backup storage. See, so that already tells you the importance of SAN and WAN, right? So, you know, there are a lot of sample resumes online, you know, or you can also do system administrator, because you are now a systems administrator or a Windows administrator. You can apply for those two positions. Systems administrator resume. See, there are lots of sample resumes here for you. No, so let's just pick this one for example. You know, this one. You know, you can use this one as an example. You know, don't put anything on your resume that you're not sure about. If there's any technology that you haven't used, don't put on your resume. If it looks catching to your eyes, okay, fine. Go read about it, watch YouTube videos about it, learn about it, then you can put on your resume. So if they ask you, you should be able to say something about it. They don't just copy and don't just go copy something that you don't know anything about and you put on your resume. And you get a call and they ask you a question and you start saying, you don't want to become a stutterer during an interview, please. No student of mine will do that. So this is another sample resume right here. This one is a little bit blurry. I don't know why. Let's click on this one. Yeah, this is another one here. I know it looks small. Yeah, so guys, do this and build your sample resumes and send to us. And because the reason why I'm doing this, because I want you guys to get into the habit of learning how to build and construct your own resumes. If I put a sample resume here, this is what is going to happen. Everyone is going to copy it. I tried it in my last 2 sessions. I put a sample resume, no one did any research. They just copied it. I don't want to do that. So I want us to go out there, do some research on what I've showed you today, use that methodology, build your resume, bring it to us, send it, share it with us, attach it, send it to the TechSpace email, and we'll take a look and we'll fix it and we'll guide you.
And make sure that when you're putting something on your resume, you know that you can back it up. If you cannot answer a question about something for your resume, then they'll just look at it and say that it's not just at all.
Sir,
Yes.
I don't know whether this Active Directory, we can put it like a database.
What do you mean putting Active Directory as a database? So Bismarck, I've showed you what to do. Look at sample resumes just the way I showed you today. Follow what I just did. Look at the resumes that you're going to be coming across. Use those resumes as a guideline to build your own resume based on the things that we've covered in class. Because all those resumes, you'll be seeing the same things that we've done in class. You will see Active Directory, DHCP, DNS, TCP/IP, domains, firewalls, all those things. Administering users, adding users, that's what you're going to cover. You're going to see in all those resumes. Nothing different. Okay? Use the same format to build your resume. Don't think about abstract things. Don't think about using DNS as database saver. All those things right now, Bismarck, you're going out of track. Stay on track, stay on the lane, follow the advice I've given you. Submit the resumes. Don't share it on the shared drive. Attach it like you're attaching a document and send it to TechSpace email, and we'll go through it. And we'll make time, we'll schedule one-on-ones with everybody and go through everybody's resume. So some people always ask this question, when it comes to the number of years, how many years should I put? So we always want to go with 4 years or maybe 5. If it's too much, do 5. Your previous job, you've done 2 years. Your current job, This is your third year. Or your past job, you did 3 years. Your current position, this is your second year. You want to go with 5 years. So this is what you need to do. You can go to your previous resume, your former job where you used to work before, remove your job title. If you were a sales manager there or you were a nurse there, you are not a nurse anymore. You remove that title as a nurse and you replace with Windows administrator. 2015 to 2017. You put what you were doing as a Windows administrator. And then you go to your current position right now. Wherever you're working right now, you put the name of that company. And your title right now is systems administrator. And you put the job responsibilities, what you're doing as a systems administrator. Based on
another thing you guys want to pay attention to is like mind the way you're gapping your years. The way you're gapping your years, you have to match, because you know they pay attention to that. Recruiters pay attention to the year, the gap years. Like let's say 2015, they work for the company 1 year, they put 2016. You'll be like, why is the gap so close? So maybe if you put a longer gap, so ask like, what were you doing between that gap that you didn't put nothing?
Yes, so there should be no lapses, please. Make structure your resume such that there are no lapses, right? So you want to do 2015, 16, 17. That's 3 years for working with this company. And then your next role, you start from 2017, 18, 19, for example. And then your next role, 2020 to present. Make sure there are no lapses, because they're going to ask you, okay, we see a lapse here of 8 months or 1 year. What were you doing? Were you out of work? Recruiters don't want to see that, you know. So make sure there are no lapses. Any question? And you don't need to worry about oh, I was working in this company as this person, and now I'll change my title, and they might think that you are not submitting that resume to them. So don't even worry about them, right? Don't worry about them. Do what you need to do. You will use that resume and you'll be applying for jobs. When it comes to calling to do reference checks, that's where I come in. That's where Kingsley comes in. That's where Charles is going to come in. And we are going to be our references. No company, no IT company, no recruiter will call your job without your consent. It will never happen. They cannot call without your consent. When it's time to call to do checks or reference checks, they will ask you, can you provide your manager's number for us to call? And that is where I will send you my number and they're going to call me. And I'm going to do the reference check for you. That's what we have been doing throughout my 7, 8, 9 years IT career. Kingsley has always been my manager. He's always been doing my reference checks, and I've always been doing his. That's how we do it. My manager's number has never gone on my resume. Never, ever. And it will never go down on my resume. Never. Because I don't trust any Oyibo person. That's just me. I'm not being racist. It's just me. Because I know Kingsley can do a better reference check for me than my manager can. And I can do a better reference check for you than anyone can. So that's how we do it. So you don't have to worry that they'll call your boss and say, oh, is this person an IT person? And then they'll find out that you're not an IT person. No. It will never happen that they will bypass you and go call that company without your consent. It's a violation of recruitment procedures. It will never happen. Okay. So it is almost 9 p.m. my time. I have 5 more minutes because I have a Python class to attend starting 9 o'clock. So
okay, bro, please can you help me with the access? I can't access those videos.
Okay, so Kingsley, you can stop recording at this point. So I think we've recorded enough.
Can you try doing for me? I'm not on my machine right now. Stop it. It's just gonna save on my machine.
See that again?
I was saying that you can stop the recording because I'm not on my machine right now.
Okay, let me see if I can.
You should be able to stop it.
I can only do that by ending the meeting. So anyway, let me go to Mr. Keenest and okay. So Alino, Kina, please share your screen. Let me help you.
Okay, before we do that, about 2 days ago, I reached out about not having access to the class application. You said you were going to share with me. You haven't done it yet.
Okay. Can you tell me exactly what you're trying to download there?
It was just about like the class application where Mr. Kingsley, he shared like the Windows servers 2012 and 16. So I was just like trying to look at it, but I don't have, yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry I didn't do that, but I will take a look right now too. So, Kina, you can share your screen. I've given you permission to share.
Okay. I think it's shared already.
Okay, so you want to click on,
yes.
Yeah, so click on that. Click on class videos. Okay.
Okay, class videos.
Go back to your Slack. Okay, click on, no. Go back where you are. Click on class videos right there. Below the networking videos and Windows and networking notes, the second link. No.
Yes,
go on the right, come to the right, all the way. Yeah, right there.
Okay. Which of the this link?
Click on class videos. No, the one down, class videos. Yes, right there.
Okay.
Yeah, that is it. You have access.
Wait, okay. Well, let me see something, please. I was clicking. I previously clicked on this. That's why it is.
Okay, so you don't have access to the notes. I'll give you access to the notes, but you have access to the videos.
Okay.
Yep. So you're all set. I'll give you access to the notes, but you have access to the videos. So that's how the videos are structured. Week 1, video 1, week 1, video 2, week 1, video 3, all the way to week 5.
Okay. In 3-4 days, I'm going to come back with very powerful questions.
Sure. Okay. So has everyone been able to download the ISO images? Because on Saturday, we're not going to spend time downloading ISOs again. We're just going to install the Linux operating system and keep going. So if you haven't downloaded your ISO yet, please go ahead and do that.
You send the downloading link already?
No, I didn't send any link. I gave it as a homework. I said Mr. Kina, go back to your Slack. Let me show you 1 or 2 things. So click on assignments and discussions and scroll all the way up. So these are the things I said they should download, right? You see right there, download the following ISO images: CentOS 7, Red Hat 7, Ubuntu 18. And then I said they should read about NAS and SAN and DAS. So right now, I've made it easy by sharing a Udemy free class for NAS and SAN. But scroll all the way up on this page. I want to show you the link to your homework. Keep going all the way up.
That's the end. Okay.
No, keep going, keep going. Okay, now click on that link.
This?
Yes. Now that is the homework document. So click on that document. So that is the class homework. So that's the first homework that was given week 1. Scroll all the way down so that you can see the current homework right now. Scroll all the way down, the bottom of the document. Use the bar on the right and drag it all the way down. No, not that one. You see, there's a gray bar on the right. You want to click on it and drag it down.
Gray.
Go to the up of the top right-hand corner of the screen. You're gonna see a gray bar. You want to click there and drag it down.
Let me see. Can I move this or something?
Top right corner, you're gonna see a gray bar. It's a little bit short. Where
Top
you
right.
see editing below, no. You see editing below editing on the right. You're gonna see a gray bar on the right. Click on that and drag it down.
No, I can't see it. Okay.
You don't see a gray bar like below editing. You just click your mouse on it and drag all the way down. No, you're clicking at the wrong place. Okay, move your mouse slowly to the right. Move it slowly to the right. Keep moving it to the right. No, you've gone too far. Bring it back. Come back a little bit. Slowly. No, go back. Move your mouse slowly to the right. Do you see the plus sign on the right? Extreme right?
What sign?
A plus sign on the extreme right of the page.
No, I don't see any plus.
Your mouse is close to the plus sign right now. If you go up, you're gonna see a gray bar. You just click on that and drag it down. Move your mouse a little bit to the left. You're gonna see a gray bar right there. You don't see it?
I don't actually see it.
Oh, that's fine. Okay. Anyway, try to scroll to the bottom of the page. I was just trying to
move to this. Okay.
Yes, that's what I've been talking about. Yeah.
That was maybe that chat was blocking it. Okay.
Now, okay. Go up a little bit. So this is the latest homework 3. Go to homework 3.
Yes, this is.
So that is it. You want to download CentOS 7, Red Hat 7, Ubuntu 18. And then the second question is research and make notes on these storage types, NAS, SAN, and DAS.
You mean CentOS, Red Hat, and Ubuntu, all of them?
Yes, that's what the homework says, yeah.
It is not going to take a lot of space?
You are downloading the ISO image. So you want to go to YouTube and watch a video how to do it.
Okay.
If you need help, call Roland. He's going to help you, or says, you can call Mr. Cesar, he's an expert. Or you can also call Curtis. Okay. And then these are other questions that you need to answer. So everyone, that's the homework. Don't forget, guys.
How do we present our homework?
So to submit your homework, you want to go to, scroll all the way up. Well, let's do it this way. Just open Gmail. Open Gmail on another machine.
Use my Gmail account.
Yes, okay. Click on click where you have the dots on the upper right hand corner.
Upper right hand.
All the way to all the way up. Yeah, right there. Now you want to go down, keep going down to Google Docs until you see Google Docs. Use the gray bar. Yeah. So click on Google Docs. No, that is it right there. No, you passed it.
Okay.
Go back up. That is Docs. Click on Docs.
Okay, yeah, this.
Okay. So close this one in the middle.
Take it off.
Close it. Yeah, close it right up there. Click on the blank. Blank on the left.
Yeah.
Yes. So it's going to open this untitled document. So when it does that, you go to the homework, you copy the questions and you paste it in here. And then you answer the questions in here.
Okay.
After you're done answering the questions, you just need to share this document with me. So to share, let's say you've copied the questions, you've pasted in here, you've answered the questions, you want to share it, click on share on the upper right hand corner, the blue button.
Mm-hmm.
Click on share.
Mm-hmm.
So you put the title. So you want to put in your name, homework 3 from Kina, right?
Okay.
And then you click save. So that's gonna name the homework.
Okay.
But you haven't shared it yet. So I'm just telling you what to do. So you have to give it a title. So when you do that, so just type random, just type something random, do homework 3 or something.
Yeah.
Okay. And then you put your name, say from you put your name. Okay, that is good. You click save. Okay, right now you have to put the text space email address up there. So you put text space 500. With an H space.
Okay, H space.
No, space. Text space. It's one word.
Text. Okay, the text is correct, right?
Text space is one word.
Like this?
Yes, 500.
Mm-hmm.
At gmail.com. That is it right there. And then make sure you give editing permission. Make sure it's always editor.
Okay.
Yeah, make sure I'm editor, and then you click send.
Okay, I got it.
No, don't type any message. Just click send.
Okay.
Yeah, so when you do that, it's gonna share the homework with me. That is it.
That's fine.
That's stop sharing.
That's clear. Okay, how am I gonna stop sharing? I'll say done.
Yeah, it's already been shared. That's it, done. That's it.
Okay.
All right, guys, I gotta jump off. I have a Python class right now, so I'll see you guys on Saturday.
Oh, thank you. God bless you, sir.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you all, guys.